Okay, welcome everyone. We are continuing our woman series, and we the fast in the footsteps of great Jewish women, and we are talking today about Devora. Now, Devora is it's a real topic. It's a real topic. We need to really understand this and get into it. Devora, we hear the name, something great about Devora. Devora is the prophetess. The Talmud lists 7 prophetesses. There were more than that. The reason why I list the 7 is because these 7 it mentions clearly in the Torah that they're prophetesses. Devora is one of them. But Devora also is called the judge, which really means she's the leader of Israel, right? Because this is the period before the kings. So Devora is I'll have to understand what she is exactly, but she's the shofet. She's the judge, which is a very different position than just a prophetess. She's the prophetess. She's the one who decides halacha, Jewish law. And she decides also civil cases, which is called being a dayan, being a judge. And she's apparently the leader, because in those days, the shofet, before there was kings, was really the leader of the people. So this is Devora we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into some topics about the women's role in this and how Devora fits in, how we understand pluses, minuses. We'll try to get into that discussion and understand the topic. Let me just first start just to give you some idea of the greatness of Devora. The Zohar talks about Devora. First of all, it says that there were 2 women who the praises that they gave to Hashem superseded all the praises that all the people gave. These 2 women gave the greatest praises. It lists Chana and it lists Devora. So Devora, as we're going to see, she is the judge, the shofetes, in the early time of the judges, very early on. And what happens is that she, in the story, the king of Canaan, Yavin, is controlling the Jewish people and they're suffering, and Devora becomes the leader, and then through prophecy she and we'll see Barak go out, and she directs Barak, and through a divine prophecy, how to fight against the general of Yavin, who's Sisera, and they win miraculously. Hashem confuses them, and the small Jewish tribes. It was mostly from tribe of Naphtali, the tribe of Zvulun. Their armies supersede the superpower of Canaan. At the time, it said it had 900 brass chariots, which was like an incredible amount, and they win. When they win, she sings these songs of praise, and these songs of praise that she sings, the Shira Devora, the song of Devora, is so great that the Zohar says that her and Chana's songs superseded everything. So she sings great songs, but much more than that. And this is a little strange what the Zohar means. I'm going to start with a little bit of Kabbalah, what it says in the Zohar. The Zohar says, and it's hard to know if this means literally, I don't know, but it says in the Zohar that during the time of Devora, the people were circumcising, but they would not do what's called priya. There's 2 parts of the circumcision. One is they remove the foreskin, and one is they peel back a thin layer that's remaining, of the aver of the male organ, and they weren't doing it. I guess it means they literally weren't doing it. I don't know why they wouldn't be doing it. I mean, they did the circumcision, so why wouldn't they reveal the pull back the small skin? So I guess it means literally, but the deeper meaning of that is that the circumcision is because the foreskin is a block. It's like the word orla, which is the foreskin. We also refer to it as an orlas lev, a block of the heart, or a block of the mouth, orlas peh. So when a person is like stuck, it says they have like a foreskin covering them. So they remove that, and then the priya is revealing, it's opening yourself up. Kabbalistically, it talks about how that allows a person to receive holiness. And it says in the Zohar that during the time of Devora, that wasn't happening. The people were shut down. They were not opening themselves up to receive the divine understanding until comes along Devora. And she, it says, revealed, it goes, I don't know the Kabbalistic, but she revealed certain levels of Kabbalistic wisdom, of the secrets of the world that came down and changed everything. She opened up the hearts of the Jewish people through her wisdom, through her righteousness. She was so great that she opened up the doors to the closed hearts of the people. That's who Devora was and how great she was. Okay, so and so like when you give a class on Devora, especially a women's class, like, oh, Devora was this great leader. But I think there's a question that we have to understand here, because there aren't so many female leaders. Well, why not? Why not? Okay, so Devora, the greatest of the great, we understand that. But I want to get into today a little bit of the understanding of, well, is Devora seemingly we've had great righteous women. We've talked about many of them so far, and there's endless amounts. As a matter of fact, people don't realize this. The Medrash says that there were 600,000 female prophetesses for the Jewish people over history. It says there were 600,000 male, 600,000 female prophetesses. It says that women are greater in prophecy than men. Okay, it says that by Sarah, but it's true for all women in a certain sense. The quality of prophecy, the sages tell us, is greater for women. Now I'll explain to you why that is. The ability of prophecy is the quality of being able to receive a divine transmission. And it requires the quality of the female as a receiver. Because one of the qualities to be a prophet or prophetess is to remove away all of your baggage and to be open to receive from Hashem. And a woman has that quality greater than the man. As we've talked about in other classes, the quality of the receiver, to be able to take something, we said before, woman takes the seed, builds the child. That's the ability to be able to be what's called the malchus, the receiver. And so she has a quality of prophecy more than men. But we don't see so many women that are the judges. We don't see her being the leader. That we don't see. Tons of prophetesses, tons of righteous women. The righteous women, many generations, we know the women were much greater than the men. We have the Dora Midbar. It says the righteous women of the Dora, the generation of the desert, and they didn't sin with any of the sins, and they brought us through in many ways. But a woman as a judge and as a leader, political leader, that we need to understand. So I want to start with a question before we get into what her greatness was. I want to start with a question, really. Can you create a woman as the leading person? And if you can, then I understand Devora, but I understand why there's not more. And if you can't, then how did Devora do this? Let's start like this. There is a halacha. It says when you make a king, you make a king. The king has to be a king and not a queen. You have a queen, the queen's married to the king, but in terms of making the leadership, there is a halacha. It says, Som tasim lecha melech, place upon you a king that's going to rule, and not a queen to rule. Okay, yeah, there were some exceptions we'll have to talk about in terms of Hashmonaim, how that worked, but that is the general rule. Now we understand why that is. Why? It sounds unfair. What would be the rationale of why specifically the male would be in that leadership role, and then with Devora, why should it be that way? So there are different understandings of this, and I want to share one with you that's very important because it kind of ties into what we've discussed in the past. There's two qualities in the male-female relationship. And this we've talked about before, so I'm going to repeat it here now. One quality is the expansion. And again, I always give the example from biology, because the biology just shows you if you want to understand the spiritual worlds, look at the physical world, how we're built. It's a parallel to the spiritual worlds. So when a couple is intimate and the child can be conceived, what happens is that the male gives many different millions of sperm cells. That's what's called hyspashtus, expansion, and that's a male quality. We discussed it before, and it's also a shortcoming because it means that the man can be all over the place. He's doing this, he's doing that, but like sometimes to focus, to bring it into the world is a challenge. What does the female do in this relationship? She picks the seed, the sperm cell, that is the one she's going to develop. She takes that one and she builds that. She focuses. That is called din, limitation. So there's expansion and limitation. And that's why, as we said many times, and we need for this discussion for sure, the idea of who's better, men or women, it's a fool's game. It's absurdity. It's not true. Because the deeper meaning is male, female is one unit. So you need the expansion and then you need the consolidation. You can't have it otherwise. You can't have, if you don't have the expansion first, there's not, the potentiality is not there. If you just start from the beginning, I'm going to be, it's like when a person wants to create something, they want to be very large in their minds. They want to expand. They'll drink some wine, whatever, to create possibilities. That's great. That's stage one. That's not enough, though. Stage two is taking and focusing it. A lot of energy came out, a lot of possibilities. Which is the prime one to build. So the female is the quality of limitation, therefore. And according to the mystics, therefore, one reason why, again, the verse says it. The verse says that you should have a king, make a king and not a queen. But the deeper explanation that they say is because the quality of being the leader to bring down the blessing has to come through expansion. And if it's the limitation, because the leader of the generation is the point person, that is the person that is the flow comes through. So if it's going to be a woman, it's going to be a more constricted approach, which is not what we need for that role. And if it's going to be a male, it's going to be the expansive approach. That's one explanation of why a king and not a queen to be the leader. We'll have to get to the Devora in a second. That's part one. Now, let's go to part two. Can women, and this is like a little strange because I don't know how people know about this, but these are tricky topics now. Can women be a witness? I'm going to start before that. I'll start in the board thing. Can a woman be a poseket? Can she decide halacha? Okay, can she decide halacha? Question is the food kosher, not food kosher. I'm avoiding the word rabbi because the word rabbi has a lot of other connotations of what the rabbi means. But I'm using specifically the term poseket, which is can she determine Jewish law? So the truth is, the answer is yes, she can. It's clear in the Pischei Tshuva brings that down. A woman can, if she's trained and if she knows, she can decide kosher, not kosher. And there are a few opinions that disagree with it, but by and large, that is the basic, most simplest understanding from many, many sources in the sport in halacha. But can a woman be what's called a dayan? A dayan is a judge, and a judge is different than a posek. A posek is somebody who decides Jewish law, but it's always in areas of forbidden, permissible. Is it food kosher, not kosher? Can you put a mezuzah here, put a mezuzah there? There's another aspect of judging cases, which is between people, civil cases. It could be monetary. It could be capital cases. So can a woman be a dayan? Can she be a judge? Because Devora is, right? So can a woman be a dayan or not? really interesting question in Jewish law. So the answer is, as many things, it is actually an argument. It's actually an argument if a woman can be a judge. All right. Now, what's the argument based on? What it's based on is like this. It says that, and this is clear, a woman cannot be a witness in certain cases in a court case. Now, wait a minute. That's terrible. Why can't a woman be a witness? What's wrong? She saw the thing. Doesn't she know? She knows. Is it impugning the woman's admonish for believability? And the answer is no. Now, why exactly a woman can't be a witness? It's not so clear. It doesn't say the reason in Torah. There's a verse that says it has to be men, but it does not say the reason. I'll give you a couple of reasons, and this is what I want to try to, as we go into the story of Devora, we'll try to figure out what these things mean a little bit more. So, why can't a woman be a witness? So one reason is like this, that it says, it's called Kvod Bat Melech Penima. The honor of the king's daughter is inside, is internal. I first want to prove to you that the reason why a woman can't give testimony has nothing to do with believability. Why? Because the source of believing someone who testifies about permissible and forbidden is from women, right? The verse says that when a woman counts her nida time, she is relied upon to say, this is what it is. And everything we do is based on that. If she could be with her husband, in the time of the temple, if things were Torah or not Torah. So we see that a woman's believed clearly on all forbidden matters. The food's kosher, not food's kosher. So it's nothing to do with believability. And that's true, by the way, for many cases of testimony. For example, let's say Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron, let's say they want to come and testify in court. Can you believe them? The answer is no, you can't. Why not? The most believable people in the world, because it's a special law. They're brothers. They can't testify. So the woman's quality, why she's not testifying in court, is definitely not believability, because she is believed. She's the source of trusting people for things being forbidden or not forbidden. So what the main answer that we say is kvod bas pnima. The honor of the woman is not to be put onto that stand. When they put the person on the stand, they cross-interrogate them. They you've probably seen it in the movies how they want to go and break the person. So they do it, and we don't put her there. As we don't put a king. A king also cannot be a witness. So it's not a question of a lack. It's a question of equality. That would be the simple explanation. The quality of the woman. I add the idea of tznius, which we're going to get to in a second. But what that means is that there's a certain, and I have to explain this because we will get to the idea of tznius with Devora, but tznius is a dirty word in the modern day world. To understand what tznius is. What is the quality of internal, that I have something inside of me that you can't, I have a force field around me. You know, what is that? What is that quality? That's the idea of tznius we'll get to. So a woman cannot be a witness. Now, there's a question now, because generally someone who can't be a witness can't be a judge. And there are opinions that hold that a woman should not be a judge. So maybe what we said, I don't know, maybe it has to do with, again, the idea of something that some internal role, and that judge role is out there. It could be, I don't know. It could be another quality that I want to share about being a judge. There's a psychologist, Carol Gilligan. You might have heard of her. And Carol Gilligan was dealing with, I forgot who the study was. I forgot the Kohlberg, I think was the name. I forgot the person's study, but there's a study where another researcher claimed that he was trying to assess people's moral development. And he asked a question about stealing a loaf of bread to feed your family. And this researcher tried to claim that men had a higher moral development because they, on the whole, said that you still can't do it. And women, more or less, there's different ways this question came out, but women on a higher percentage said they could. And Carol Gilligan was a psychologist in the 80s, and she said the thing is biased because you're looking at it based not upon the woman's perspective. And this is very, very true. She's right. Because from the woman's perspective, there was the issue of relating to the family. Koch nefesh. Well, what do you do? And there is a truth to that the woman's quality, the internal quality of the female is the ability to relate to the inner workings of a person much deeper than a man can. That is one of the explanations. There's this different explanations of the woman's creation from the back. The one that says from the rib, according to that idea, the reason why the rib, the Medrash says, because the rib is internal. You could see the rib on the outside, but it really is internal. And a woman's power is to connect to the internal mechanism of the person. And therefore, she relates very much. That's why the Talmud says a woman recognizes the guest better than the man does. Like if somebody comes to the house and, I say to my wife, I say, shake your not. She says, no, get him out of here. I'm like, okay, get him out of here. Because the Talmud says the woman recognizes the guests, the orchim, more than the man does. She has the internal mechanism. And that's why the influence is very often on the emotional level. Therefore, it could be the quality of the judge who needs to be totally impartial. I don't care, you stole a loaf of bread, you had to feed your family, but there's a law. The judge it's two different things. In the laws of a judge, he's not allowed to go and show favoritism to anybody, even a person who's being oppressed. He's got to be cold, calculated. This is what it is. And that's one way of approaching things. First, you have to know the law, then you can go beyond it. So it could be the quality of a judge, maybe, is, in some opinions, is not the female strength. She is the strength of the internal world. Of course, she has, relates to the world also, but the sense of the internal mechanism, the feeling of the family, the building of the person, a certain internal quality of not going out on the stand and being, badgered and being able to understand her own internal mechanism and of others. That may be a unique quality for women that therefore they could not be a judge according to this opinion. So that was true. If that's true, again, there's other opinion that holds that women can be a judge. They can't be a witness, but they can be a judge. So the ones that will be a judge is not to talk about. That's fine. But if the woman can't be a judge, so what happened with Devora? Is she like a king? We said a king. You can't be a king either. Well, is she the king? You shouldn't make her a king. And according to the ones that you can't have a judge, so how was Devora the judge? Prophetess? Great, no problem. But she was the leader. She was the judge. She judged the cases. So we have to understand, how could Devora be a judge? That's what I want to get into right now. Kind of, we'll talk about some of the answers, but understand them a little bit more thoroughly based on who she was and what she did. So now, like this, let's go to one answer that the reason why she was a judge, just technical, just to go through this technical aspect, was simple. There's a law that if two people accept someone to be the judge, even the person cannot be the judge. Let's say I heard this from a rabbi who told me that he ran a yeshiva, and he had one of Rav Yosef's sons as working in the yeshiva with him, and they had a court case. And so this rabbi said to one of Rav Yosef's sons, the chief rabbi of Israel at the time, he says, who do you want to go to as a judge? So the son said, I want to go my father. So the rabbi that I know said, okay, we'll go to Rav Yosef. They went to Rav Yosef, and Rav Yosef, he paskined in favor of this rabbi and not his son. So you're not going to bias him, obviously. But if you accept, but normally a father can't judge the case. But if I accept it, it can. So one explanation was the Jewish people accepted Devora. They said, okay, maybe she can't be the judge, but we accept her. That's one answer. Other answer, Hashem said so. It was an exception. It was called a special rule of the time. Third answer is that she taught them what to say. And now, I want to go into this right now a little bit. Yes, Devora is called the mother of Israel, and we're going to get to that. I mean, the reason why she's called the mother of Israel, I hinted at this in the beginning. She brought down the wisdom in the mystical writings. The idea of the mother is something above the whole system. She brought down the wisdom to the people through her. She did. She clearly did. So, all right. So what do we got? I know I made it a little bit complicated, but I kind of wanted to give these parameters to us because they're very important. We have this great Devora. She is a prophetess. No problem. Leader, a judge, but she's the one. People accept it. They agree to it. Now, the Medrash says, well, why did everyone agree to it? You know, like why? What was the quality of Devora that like changed everything? So first of all, because the Medrash says that Pinchas was still alive. Great Pinchas was still alive at this time. He was old. He was alive. So what happened? So first of all, the Medrash is like this. It's a very strange. You have to read the words of the Medrash. The Medrash is like this. It says that the Medrash says that we guarantee. Doesn't matter what a person. It could be male, female, Jewish, not Jewish, slave, free person. Doesn't matter what status. We don't care about that in Judaism. It's all based on the person's deeds. The deeds of the person will decide if they get Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. And so therefore, something about Devora's deeds was so great that she became the one. Now, I want to just point that out because this is wild a little bit. The word deeds is funny here because there's another issue about are women commanded to learn Torah? We're learning Torah right now. So women, is the commandment for women to learn Torah the same as men? The answer is not the same. Women are commanded to learn Torah on all the laws and things that are relevant to them. And that's what we're doing now. We're learning things that affect our lives, and the men have a separate thing, which is that men are commanded to learn Torah no matter what. Because they can learn something that's completely not the law. If they learn something about offerings, there's a whole school that only learns about offerings today. That's what they learn. In Bristol, they only learn about offerings. We don't bring offerings. They say, yeah, but that's what they learn. So now it's an amazing thing. So the question is, well, why? What's going on here? Like, women learn the things that are relevant to them, which is a tremendous amount of studying. Because there's so much about it still that would. Was that an ouch because you can't learn Torah? I don't know. I don't know, but you can learn Torah. So if it was an ouch about that, so I'm going to qualify. So, of course, the woman can and supposed to learn Torah. Again, please hear what I'm saying. The learning of something that is totally not relevant to your life, okay? The laws of the Tahara, of the Beis Hamikdash, of something that a woman can learn. She can learn that. She's not obligated to learn it. Why is that? So the answer is because, and this is an amazing thing of Side Cohen, so he says that a man, the Torah that he has to learn no matter what fixes up his shortcomings. It's called the Tavla. It's called the medicine. For the woman, she doesn't need that. In other words, she needs to learn Torah that she needs to learn. But that's not necessarily the method that she has to go about to fix herself up. She has to learn what she has to learn. but she has to be able to learn things to translate them into action that's relevant. And that's what Tzaddik says here, why the Medrash says that the quality is the actions that you do, that is what's going to determine the Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. Devora's actions, she studied, yes, she studied. She was the wisest woman there. We're going to see. She knew more than anybody else. But the greatness was, she studied, of course, but the greatness was through her actions that gave her the divine inspiration and thereby the wisdom to be able to judge the entire people. Okay, so now let's understand. Now I've quoted this to you many times, and it kind of seems a little strange, but I do want to again explain. The Medrash there asks, tell me something about Devora. We talked about this many times. We need to spell this out here. Devora, it says her husband was an Amars, an ignoramus. Okay, even if it was Barak, it seems that he was an ignoramus before she took care of him, but he was an ignoramus. And what did she do? It says that she made these wicks and she sent them to the temple in Shiloh and said, go there, bring these wicks, they'll give tremendous light. The way I heard it was that they would learn Torah until the wicks would go out, and then he eventually became a scholar. So she had the quality of saying, listen, and this is really important, she had the quality of taking the Torah and wanting to bring the Torah in the world. The way the Medrash says it is, you made these wicks to bring my light into the world, God said, I'm going to bring my light in through you. So Devora is understanding, she's wise, but she gets that way through her process of how she's going to fix up the world. And as we always have to start with our circle. That's the way the world is. You got to start with your, you give your community first, your city first, and certainly your spouse. A husband and wife have to be able to function together. I'm gonna take the question at the end because I got a lot. So just you can put it down. Let me just take it at the end because there's a lot of stuff I gotta flesh out here. So okay, so now what happens is that she went and she pulled out in her husband this quality for the sake of heaven to go and to bring the light of Torah. And that's what he did. And he was transformed because of who she was. Now, I want to go on one more step. How did she judge the people? It says the famous thing, she judged them under the tamar, under the palm tree. Why under the palm tree? What does that mean? I mean, very nice, cute. Devora, tamar, Devora, the palm tree, Devora. What is the significance of the palm tree? So it's got a few things here. And this is going to tie into understanding her and her greatness and the role that she takes. Well, first of all, it says a palm tree has very little shade. Okay? Very little shade. Just as that those few branches. So too in her generation, there were very few wise people. There were very few scholars. There were very few great people. Her generation was just shut down. She rose to the top and she opened the faucets and brought down the wisdom to everybody, but it was closed off. What else about a palm tree? So a palm tree also, what happens is like this, has the laws of yichud, the laws of secluding with people. Again, this is the tznius, the modesty, the holiness of Devora was she sat under the palm tree, simply put, because that way there would not be a question of her coming into a private, secluded place with men. That was also why the palm tree. Now the Medrash says something else. Why a palm tree? A palm tree is different than other trees. That a palm tree has one branch, right? Other trees, you have the trunk and the branches grow out. The palm tree is the quality that it has lev echad, one heart. So too, Devora turned the people to have one heart to Hashem. Okay? Now, this is what I want to understand with you. This is why the commentaries say the mitzvah of lulav, even though it's a time-bound commandment, women are not obligated, it says that women always took a lulav. Why do women always take a lulav? Because the word lulav, which is a palm tree, is from the word lo lev. To him is my heart. To Hashem is my heart. And therefore, it has a quality that's specific to women. That men have sometimes are very diffused in terms of their dedication to where they're going, but a woman has the ability, the stronger ability to create lo lev, my hearts to him. And therefore, Devora sits under the palm tree specifically, which shows that she moved the entire generation to have one heart to Hashem. Okay, let's try to tie this together to understand a little bit now the picture of Devora. So we got the idea that she kind of brings out the greatness in her husband. She realizes he doesn't know Torah. She ends up knowing Torah, becoming a prophetess because she knows how to bring out the quality. She has the humility and the modesty that she wants to be under this palm tree, and her heart is specifically to Hashem. Devora, her greatness, where she becomes the leader of the Jewish people, is because of that internal power that she has. Yes, she became the greatest scholar. That is true. But she didn't get there just because she was the quickest and smartest. She got there because she had the lave, she had the heart that was most dedicated to bringing out Hashem in the world. That's the idea of giving the petila, the fire to her husband. She saw, okay, I have a husband, he's an ignorant, doesn't know anything. I need to bring out Hashem in the world. That's the quality of action. So before, if Meretha Ouch was about learning Torah, again, to qualify, women are allowed to learn whatever they want to learn, they could do. Do they have to learn things that are not relevant? They don't have to, because the quality, the greatness they have is to take the potential and to bring it out into the world. And the way it's done is through the internal mechanism. And therefore, Devora is the person who has this one heart to Hashem. She's under the palm tree with one heart, and she's all she's interested in turning her bringing out Hashem into the world. That's what it is. And therefore, she's now either accepted by the entire people to be the judge, because she's the greatest, they accept her, or Hashem says specifically, take her to be that. However she does it, she takes that quality of becoming the leader that she has to be in that role. Now, we're going to get into this in the discussion part, but there's a little danger here that happens. And Devora herself does fall into it. There's a certain place where she kind of makes a mistake. Where's the mistake? If you look at the Song of Devora, she says, things were going bad until I came, as Shifra said, the mother of Israel. And then later on in the song, she sees Uri, Uri, Devora, rise up, Devora. And the Gemara and the Zohar says she lost her divine inspiration. Why? Because she took credit. And this is where it becomes a very, very unique quality right now that you have to get. And I want to try to explain this. We'll talk about it more in the discussion. But there's a female quality of humility, of tznius. I know it's a dirty word today, but there's the ability to say that we don't necessarily feel the person standing out there, I'm the greatest, that person's the greatest. The more important thing is the internal system of the world. And the female quality of tzniut, of being able to say that no, I'm not on display. I have my greatness that I have in my place that's intact. That quality is the quality that is a unique, special quality to the female. Devora rose up to become the leader, and she had to. We needed her to be that. And it seems from the Gemara also, but that was it caused a little bit of an issue for her. And at the moment, even as her praise, when she got too proud of herself, and she said this statement about I came Devora. That's when the divine inspiration slipped away from her. Now, let's tie it together. Last thing. On the mystical level, who else is Devora? Who else was Devora? So it says that Devora, it says she sat under the Tamar. Under the Tamar is a palm tree. What else is a Tamar? Who's Tamar? Tamar was the famous Tamar back in the story. So the Kabbalist Ma'ipano says that what? That Tamar was very, very tznius. She had the internal strength. I don't need to announce myself. Again, I know it's not in our world, it's a great thing, but because you think the person who announces himself is good. That's not how we see the world. We see the world as the person who's internal and keeps that power is greater. But Tamar was very sanua. She was very internal strength, and yet she had to sit in the crossroads, to get Yehuda in that whole famous story. So now it's fixed through Devora, who has to rise up to take the role, the front line role, and still maintains that quality of sitting under the Tamar. And that's the mystics say that she was the neshama of Tamar. Who else? This is fascinating. The Ramapano also says the neshama of Tzipora. That's amazing. Why? I mean, Tzipora is the wife of the greatest prophetess. And now that Tzipora, same Tzipora now comes out in Devora, who is the leader. Her husband Barak becomes second to her. In the song that she sings, it says Devora and Barak will sing the song, but it was really Devora that sang it. And he realized she was greater and she knew more, and she said, okay, she said, you bring me along, I'll go out to war, but you bring me along with the song. So he became connected to her and to her leadership. Sipora is now also this same personage of Devora. And as I said to you before, it's an amazing thing. It says Sipora, when the Jews crossed the Red Sea, they sang song. Women sang song in last week's Torah portion. Sipora wasn't there. Remember, Moshe sent her back to Midian. She yearned to sing songs to Hashem. And so she came back in Devora to sing the song. And that's also why an amazing thing, we said before that Devora kind of opened the hearts of the Jewish people at the circumcision. We said in the very beginning. It says in the Kabbalah that they were doing part of the circumcision, not fully doing it, and it means their hearts were stuck. She opened up their hearts. If you remember the story of Tzipora, she's the one who circumcised their son, right? Eliezer, when they were traveling, and Moshe was almost killed. She did the circumcision. She opened up all the gateways. That was the quality of Devora. Devora was a person who stood up to be up front and stood up to be in charge, because her internal low lev, her heart was to Hashem. That's really where she was at. That's what she was about. And because of that, she was able to stand in this role to become the greatest of the greats and to do the mission that she had to do, because she was tuned in to what her really true great qualities were. Okay, we're going to open it up to everybody. There's a lot of questions. Ayelet, you had a lot of questions during the time I saw, so I couldn't get to them. But let's hear, guys, what we have, because we talked about a lot of stuff.